The ongoing debate over the use of Alberta's oil and gas exports as leverage in trade. Negotiations with the United States has reached new heights, with Premier Danielle Smith firmly standing her ground against both federal officials and fellow provincial leaders. The latest development in this political drama unfolded as Smith rejected a proposal from Ontario Premier Doug Ford and others in the Canadian political sphere to impose taxes on Alberta's energy exports to the U.S. Despite mounting pressure, Smith's unwavering stance has sparked heated discussions about Canada's broader response to U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policies. The conflict began earlier this week when Premier Doug Ford, chairing meetings of Canada's provincial leaders, suggested Alberta might need to impose a tax on its oil and gas exports to the United States in retaliation for President Trump's trade tariffs. Ford argued that Canada needed to show strength and force America to feel the economic consequences of Trump's policies. His suggestion was met with applause from certain segments of the Canadian population, particularly those who felt that a more forceful response to Trump was long overdue. However, Premier Smith rejected the idea outright. Speaking on national television, Smith stated, "No matter how many times I'm asked, the answer will always be no." She emphasized that Alberta's oil and gas resources are vital to the province's economy, and the United States is its most important trading partner. "We would never do that to our friends and allies," she added. Smith's defiant position is rooted in a belief that Alberta's energy exports should not be used as political bargaining chips, and that short-term political games could have long-term damaging consequences for the province. While Smith's stance has earned support from some quarters in Alberta, it has drawn criticism from other parts of Canada. Federal officials, as well as opposition politicians and some provincial leaders, have called for a tougher stance against Trump's trade policies, including using Alberta's energy resources as leverage. Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne, a member of the federal cabinet, cautioned that Canada should not rule out any potential responses, including taxes on energy exports, in order to ensure a strong negotiating position. Similarly, Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly emphasized the importance of flexibility in negotiations. The most vocal proponent of using Alberta's energy resources as leverage, however, has been Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson. Once seen as a moderate voice within the federal government, Wilkinson has recently voiced support for limiting oil and gas exports to the U.S. He has argued that restricting the flow of energy to the United States could be an effective countermeasure to Trump's trade tariffs, although his remarks have angered Smith and many of her supporters. They view Wilkinson's comments as yet another attempt to undermine Alberta's energy sector and weaken the province's economic power. The tensions reached a boiling point at a recent meeting of Canada's premiers, where Smith once again made her position crystal clear. Behind closed doors, the discussions were described as vigorous, with Premier Ford and others pushing for more aggressive actions, including tax measures on oil and gas exports. However, Smith stood firm, rejecting any such proposals. After the meeting, she issued a public statement reaffirming that Alberta's resources must be respected and that no tax on energy exports would be implemented. She called for a measured approach to U.S. tariffs, emphasizing that Alberta should focus on securing a fair trade deal, not escalating tensions. Ford, for his part, had initially indicated a willingness to take a more aggressive stance. Earlier in the week, he proposed imposing a 25% surcharge on Ontario electricity exports to the United States, in an effort to make Americans feel the economic pain of their tariffs. His rhetoric was praised by some who wanted Canada to take a stronger stance against Trump.